Okay, we're at the Halloween Faces Phase 3 now, and it's time to introduce some external elements into our graphic. So I'm going to open up a couple of things that I think we can work with. Let's see, I got some devil horns here that I'd like to play around with. Yep. And I've got Kodiak Bear that I'd like to mess around with as well. And maybe steal some elements from there. And so we're going to just combine the things that we've done before, and again work with layers to put things where we want them. So I'm going to start with grabbing these horns and seeing if we can resize them and fit them in. I'll use, remembering my tricks, the square brackets will let me make quick work of these devil horns, and to move them onto my main master image here, I'm just going to use the move tool and drag them on over, and they are automatically put into their own layer. And you'll notice that they're kind of facing the wrong way for me. I wonder what would happen if I flip these around. By the way, one way you can flip them around is just with the move tool. Flip them like that. Sometimes that works. If you want to be a little more accurate with it though, I believe there's an edit, and I always forget this part. Image transform. And transforming, image transform lets us flip. Oh, I know it's rotate. Flip things 180 degrees, or flip horizontal, or flip vertical. If I hit the top, notice there's a flip horizontal there and a flip layer horizontal. If I flip horizontal, flips the entire image. That's not what I want to do. Undo. So image, rotate, and down below flip the layer horizontally just takes care of that layer. And now to get these things sized about right, I can shrink them. When I shrink them, I don't want to shrink them using this, the side or the top. Sizer handles, I want to use a corner so that it shrinks them in proportion. And it looks like these things will fit pretty well. Happens to be there about the right size. I'm going to try to put one way over here like this. Say OK. And now using selection tools, the really easy ones, I'll use the lasso tool. Move them into a better position. Oops, that doesn't look good at all. Undo. Hit the escape key when you have to. Make sure you're always in the right layer before you start messing around with these things, because if you simply click, it will choose the layer where the pixels are that you've clicked on. So I'll try this one more time. And if I use the selection tool, I am in layer tool. If I start clicking here and selecting around, nope, looks like I'm in the right area. So now the move tool should let me move this one where I want it to. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller, so it doesn't look drastically bigger than the first. Looks like it should be about there. Okay, so that's an example of where the sizes of these images worked out pretty well. The next one, I'm going to close this. I'm going to try taking a bear mouth and putting it on there. See what happens with it. And I got a really good one right here to select. Selection tools. I can use the lasso tool and just take what I want. I could try using the quick select tool instead and see. By the way, Control D will deselect. Control D is a handy one to have your fingers on. And maybe I can get just the selection of this bear mouth. Something like that. Yeah, that might work out pretty well. And when I move this thing over, let's see what it looks like. You might notice this is a little undersized. Now some people might have the inclination to just simply take that and say, okay, well, let's just make it bigger. I would suggest you never do that. Making it bigger means that it's going to be bigger and blurrier. By the time you hit the check mark like this, you've got a big blurry version of that bear mouth, and everything else has been in nice solid detail, so it's a shame to compromise it with something that's a little bit on the blurry side. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to forget about this image. I went and found a better quality version of the image. I'll use open, and my picture is here. This is a 1280 sized image, and although it looks the same, I'll try the same tricks. This should be, I hope, higher in quality. I'm being pretty crude about this selection. Maybe I should zoom in on this a little bit. Deselect, start it again. A little bit of that to blend in. Sure, that'll work. Better to take a little bit too much than too little. Looks like it's about good. Look a little more carefully here. By the way, to zoom in, I use Control Spacebar to turn this into an instant magnifying glass and zoom in. Control Spacebar with Alt lets me zoom out a little bit too, without changing my tool. Now I can use a square bracket. I'm going to add just a little bit more of that nose. There it is. A little bit there too. Much better looking selection. And holding the spacebar lets me move around the perimeter of it to make sure I got it looking pretty good. Good. I'll double click the hand tool to zoom it out. Jeepers, I think I'm going to take a little bit more of the fur down here. This could come in handy. So, whoops, that's too much. Undo. I don't want the eye. Alt, deselect. But I like that little bit there. I'm just sort of clicking and going. Okay, now let's see if this size compares a little more favorably. Whoops. Double click and bring this guy back. Okay, there he is. Double click and bring this guy back. I still have my selection. Can I move the brown bear off to the side? Yes, I can. Move tool. Now if I move this one over and drag it on top, it makes a new layer, but notice I didn't have to enlarge it. It was already the right size. So this was much better in quality. And if you look carefully at it, you can see that. Look at the details on the teeth and the gums and all that stuff. Blurrier one, I just took a small one and made it bigger. This is the one I want to use. So I'm going to keep this one. I want to delete this layer. Gone. Double click the magnifying glass tool, turn that back on, and now I'm ready to start blending these things in. You get the idea where the fun comes from this. If you can find angles that match really, really well, you can get something that's going to look pretty hideous and convincing. So I think I've got it right about there. Never done this one before. This looks like fun though. So now I've got a good face. I've got a bear mouth. And I got myself devil horns. Well, I'll call them demon horns. And to make these things blend in, my suggestion, if you took enough of the elements from this thing, I think the eraser tool is probably going to be the best tool for the job. I'm going to zoom in nice and close, and I'm going to set some adjustments on the eraser. First of all, I'm going to get the brush size by using the square brackets. Sort of a nice sized brush for this sort of work. And I'm going to change its qualities up here. So its opacity is only about, maybe I'll make it about 33%. So it would take me 3 swipes to fully erase something. But this will allow me to start blending things in. Now, I've just done a few passes. If you want to be very conservative about this, I'm going to undo this 3 times, bring it back. Maybe this bear mouth, I'm just going to duplicate the layer and keep a backup copy of it in case it gets worse rather than better. I do have the original here too, but I just want to be careful. So I'm just going to store the copy in a layer that's hidden. And now I'll try that blending again, just to see if I can get it to fade in the way I want. And I'm just kind of going around the outside edge. And the idea is just to make this thing look like it's believably heading in. Kind of like the way that's fringing around there. And I'll take the brush size down. There are probably better and worse versions of a mouth to put on there, but this one looks like it might just do the job. A little bit of erasing like this. It's okay if the nose sticks out a bit. Like the way his mustache fits right there with the one I have. And remember, you can do other things here with this too. You could, if you wanted to, with the bear mouth or with whatever you have, you can also not just resize it, but you can rotate it a little bit so the angles match a little bit better. And try to get it, figure out what's going to be scary, what's going to be believable. So I think I'm just going to use the arrow keys and sort of tap that into place. So hopefully you get the idea. That's starting to blend things in. Now the devil horns might be the same sort of results that you're going to get out of it. It looks actually like it's doing pretty well. There are some interesting little tricks that we can try to do to try to make it look a little bit more convincing. For instance, it looks like the hair up here should be underneath the horn. So right back to that eraser tool. Maybe now I'll bump up the amount to about 60%, because I know I'm pretty sure I'm going to be erasing that there. Just let a little bit of it come through. And maybe just a little bit there. So it comes through a little bit more. And So there's the start of it. The idea of blending, there's lots that you can do. There's lots of elements you can put in. You don't have to go for a bare mouth, but you look for something that's going to be kind of creepy. See where that goes. So I'm going to leave this at this point. There's lots more that I'm going to experiment with, but the next phase of this, I'm going to show you how you can use the blending modes on layers to try to add color, try to make the whole thing come together a little bit more. So stay tuned for phase 4.